All right, so Bitcoin. Everyone knows it's supposed to be like this big decentralized revolution. But what if I told you the way Bitcoin mining actually works right now kind of puts a ton of power in the hands of just a few? And that's what we're diving up on today. It's a solution called DATUM, and it might just like totally change the future of crypto.
Yeah, it's really interesting how a lot of people just don't realize how centralized mining has become.
It's kind of against the whole point, isn't it? So remind me, how does mining even work? I know it's something about computers and math problems.
Right, so miners are basically just in a constant race to solve these super complex equations. Whoever gets it first adds the next block of transactions to the blockchain, and they get Bitcoin as like a reward. So you can think of it as this global competition to secure the network.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But you mentioned mining pools before. Where do they fit in?
Mining solo is tough. It's like trying to win the lottery but against millions of people. So these miners team up in pools to combine their computing power, and that increases their chances of winning Bitcoin. It's a really smart strategy, but it does lead to some concentration of power.
Ah, so instead of a bunch of individual miners, we end up with a few massive pools kind of calling the shots.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the issues. And then it gets even more complicated when you think about something called block templates. So these templates decide which transactions get included in each block. But right now, creating those templates is pretty centralized, and it's often controlled by those same big mining pools.
Hold on, so they don't just control the computing power, they also get to choose which transactions actually make it onto the blockchain. That seems like a lot of power for a system that's all about being decentralized.
Exactly. It raises some serious concerns about censorship and manipulation. Imagine someone could just prevent certain types of transactions from going through, or even change the order for their own benefit.
That sounds like the worst case scenario for Bitcoin. It's like the opposite of a free and open financial system.
It really is. But the good news is there's a growing movement to fix this whole centralization problem. And that's where DATUM comes in.
Okay, finally, let's talk about Datum. I've been hearing it's a potential game changer. What makes it so special?
DATUM stands for Decentralized Alternative Templates for Universal Mining. Basically, it lets miners create their own block templates. So instead of relying on the templates from the big pools, they use their own Bitcoin nodes.
Okay, I'm guessing this whole node thing is important. Can you break that down a bit? What even is a Bitcoin node? And why do I need one to use Datum?
You can think of a node as like your personal copy of the Bitcoin ledger. So you're directly part of the network, verifying transactions and keeping it secure. And with Datum, your node is what lets you generate those block templates yourself. You get to decide which transactions to include.
So it's like cutting out the middleman, taking back control. I like it. So let's say I'm a miner and I'm all about this Datum thing. What are my next steps?
First, you need to set up a Bitcoin node. It might sound a little complicated, but there's tons of help online. And then you join a mining pool that supports Datum, like ocean mining.
Ocean mining. I've been seeing that name everywhere lately. What's their deal?
Ocean mining is really interesting. They're not just a pool. They're really pushing this whole decentralized block creation thing. They basically provide the infrastructure for miners to contribute computing power, but they still have control over their block templates through Datum.
So instead of a big pool telling me what to do, I can join a community of miners, people who want a more decentralized future for Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's what's so great about Datum. It's not just tech. It's like a whole philosophy about the future of Bitcoin. It's about empowering people and making the network stronger. It's about staying true to that original vision of a decentralized cryptocurrency.
That's awesome. Okay, so Datum sounds amazing in theory, but what does it mean for the average person who uses Bitcoin? Or for investors, what are the real-world implications?
That's where it gets really interesting. I think the biggest impact is on security. By letting everyone create block templates, Datum makes it way harder for anyone to mess with the network. It's like having 1,000 locks on your door instead of just one.
So less chance of some big organization or even a government coming in to censor transactions.
Exactly. Bitcoin becomes way more resistant to attacks like that. Plus, it could lead to more diversity in the types of transactions, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, right now, with those centralized templates, they tend to pick transactions with higher fees. Makes sense for profit. But with Datamine, miners can include more variety, maybe even prioritizing ones that align with their own values.
Interesting. So a more inclusive Bitcoin, less about just who pays the most.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Individual miners can have a real say in the direction of the network. And that brings us to another big thing, participation. With Datum, smaller miners who couldn't afford the fancy hardware can actually compete. It levels the playing field.
It's like power to the people, but for Bitcoin. I love it. But let's play devil's advocate for a sec. Are there any downsides to Datum? Anything we should be cautious about?
One concern is that with everyone making their own templates, there could be more conflicting blocks, like being generated at the same time.
Oh, so like a traffic jam on the blockchain.
Kind of, yeah. It could cause some instability at first. But the Bitcoin community is great at solving problems. Developers are already working on ways to minimize those conflicts and make sure the transition is smooth.
That's good to hear. Honestly, a few bumps in the road seem worth it for a more secure and decentralized Bitcoin. What else should we be thinking about as Datum gets bigger?
Another challenge is getting people up to speed. Running a node and making block templates does take some technical knowledge, but the open source community is amazing. There are so many resources available. As more people get excited about Datum, I'm sure we'll see easier tools and guides popping up.
Okay, so the learning curve is there, but it's not impossible. And the benefits of Datum seem to outweigh the challenges.
I think so. It's a huge step towards Bitcoin's true potential. A decentralized, censorship-resistant global financial system.
It feels like a turning point, like we're on the edge of something big.
It's definitely exciting, but it's important to remember that Datum mostly focuses on those block templates. There are other areas where centralization is still an issue, like the actual location of the miners.
You mean how a lot of mining is in just a few countries?
Exactly. A lot of it is happening in China and the US, and that could make the network vulnerable to politics or regulations in those places.
That makes sense. So even with Datum, if one country decides to crack down on Bitcoin mining, it could still disrupt things.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. That's why it's so important to keep pushing for a more diverse mining landscape. There are projects out there trying to encourage mining in new places and using renewable energy for mining too.
So spreading the love and making the network stronger.
Exactly. And Datum can be part of that. By giving more power to individual miners, it could help build a more decentralized and geographically diverse network.
Okay, so Datum is good for security, it brings in more people, and it could even change where miners are located. What's not to love?
Well, the big question is, how does Datum affect the bottom line for miners?
Yeah.
They're doing this to earn Bitcoin after all.
That's a great point. Does Datum change how profitable mining is? Stay tuned, because that's exactly what we'll be diving into after a key.
Hold on. We're not supposed to do breaks in the middle of the deep dive, remember?
Oh, right. My bad. So, as I was saying, let's talk about money. Does Datum make mining more profitable? Does it change the economics of Bitcoin? Buckle up. We're going deep on the financial side of things right now.
It definitely can shake things up, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Remember how we were talking about those mining pools, how they give miners a more stable income? Well, Datum kind of changes how that whole system works.
Oh, really? Doesn't it still work with pools like ocean mining?
It does, but the whole dynamic is different. With the old way, you're basically giving up control. They decide which transactions go in the block template. You just get your share. But Datum gives miners more control. They can choose transactions based on the fees, which could mean more money for some miners.
Hold on, so Datum could actually make mining more profitable. That's a big deal. Tell me more about this fee thing.
So imagine you're a miner using Datum. You see a bunch of transactions waiting, each with a different fee. You can choose the ones with higher fees, because you'll get a bigger reward when your block goes on the blockchain.
So it's like a free market for transactions. Miners get paid more for the ones people are willing to pay more for. It's like capitalism meets decentralization.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the things that makes Datum so interesting. It adds a whole new layer of strategy to mining. But it's not just about making more money. It could actually be good for the whole network.
Okay, I'm listening. How does paying more fees help everyone? Wouldn't that just make Bitcoin more expensive to use?
Well, yeah, it could mean slightly higher fees at first. But over time, all this competition could lead to better mining, like better hardware, better software, and lower costs.
So it's like an arms race, but a good one. Everyone's trying to improve, and that makes the whole network stronger.
Exactly. A better mining system means a faster, more secure Bitcoin for all of us.
It's crazy how one small change like this could have such a big impact. It's like a butterfly flapping its wings and causing a hurricane somewhere else.
That's a great way to put it. It shows how connected everything in Bitcoin really is. Even small changes can have huge effects.
So zooming out for a sec, what does Datum tell us about the future of crypto? Is this the start of something bigger? Will we see more innovation like this?
I think it's a really good sign. Datum proves that decentralization isn't just an idea. It can actually work. And if it works for Bitcoin, who knows what other cryptocurrencies will do? We might be at the start of a whole new wave of technology, all about giving power to people and stopping censorship.
That's an exciting thought. A future where technology really belongs to everyone. And datum could be what gets us there.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. The best way to stay ahead of the game is to do your own research. Check out the resources online and talk about the future of this tech.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So there you have it, folks. Datum and how it could change Bitcoin mining forever. And maybe even the whole world of cryptocurrency. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible.
Yeah, it could change things up a lot. We were just talking about miners joining pools to get that steady income right.
Yeah.
Datum kind of throws a wrench into all that.
Oh, really? I thought it still worked with those pools, like ocean mining.
It does, but the whole dynamic changes. Before, you're basically giving up control to the pool. They choose the transactions for the block template. You just get your share of the reward. But with Datum, miners have way more control. They can pick and choose transactions based on the fees, and some miners could end up making way more money that way.
So datum could make mining more profitable. That's huge. How does that even work? What's this about fees?
Okay, so let's say you're a miner using Datum. You see all these transactions waiting to be processed, and each one has a different fee attached. You can choose to go for the ones with the higher fees because you'll get a bigger cut of the reward when your block gets added to the blockchain.
So it's like a market for transactions. Miners are going to want the ones that pay the most.
Exactly. It brings this whole new level of strategy to mining. But it's not just about individual miners making more money. This could actually be good for the whole network.
Okay, I'm not sure I follow. How does everyone paying higher fees make things better? Wouldn't that make Bitcoin more expensive to use?
Well, yeah, fees might go up a little at first, but in the long run, all this competition between miners could lead to a lot of innovation. They'll want to upgrade their hardware, find better software, and figure out ways to cut costs.
So it pushes them to improve. And that makes Bitcoin better for everyone.
Exactly. A more efficient mining system means a faster, more secure, and more reliable Bitcoin network for all of us.
It's incredible how one little tweak like datum could have such a huge impact.
Yeah, it really shows you how everything in Bitcoin is connected. Even small changes can have massive ripple effects.
So if we step back and look at the big picture, what does datum tell us about the future of cryptocurrency in general?
I think it's a really positive sign. It shows that decentralization isn't just some pipe dream. It can actually work in the real world. And if it works for Bitcoin, who knows? We might see other cryptocurrencies doing something similar. We could be on the verge of a whole new wave of decentralized technology, all about empowering individuals and fighting censorship.
That's a future I want to live in.
It's definitely worth keeping an eye on. The best thing you can do is keep learning and keep asking questions.
Couldn't agree more. So there you have it, datum in the future of Bitcoin mining. It's a wild ride, and we're just getting started. Until next time, keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and let's see where this incredible technology takes us.